Hello, everybody. Scott Golden, Golden Opportunities Coaching here. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around here. And we are on the march to 300 subscribers. Help us get there. Please like, subscribe, comment below. Today we're going to talk about types of self-harm. Self-harm is any behavior that causes physical, emotional, or mental pain to oneself on a continual basis with the intention of doing so. And so most people have heard of self-harm. But what are some common or very likely forms of self-harm that people go through? And we're going to go through about 4 or 5 of these and the reasons behind them. If you know someone that's self-harming, please encourage them to get help from anywhere from a counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist, minister, coach, friend, family member, somewhere. Encourage them to get assistance, because self-harm as a practice will only escalate if a person does not get the help they need. And so it's important to realize that self-harm is not something that a person at the time feels they have control over. Matter of fact, the desire for control is the reason that a person engages in self-harm. When their life gets out of control, they are looking for ways that they can regain control in their own life. Obviously, things like cutting, burning, physical mutilation of any sort, these are the common ones. I want to talk more today, though, about the less obvious but just as lethal forms of self-harm, because I think these are the ones that are much more common, easier to see if you're looking for them, but extremely unlikely to see if you're not. And so one of them is sleep alteration and sleep deprivation. So a person who is looking to harm themselves and believes they have to be perfect to be loved, which is often a core belief around those who engage in self-harm, the idea that they have to earn love, be perfect to be loved, or in some way alter themselves in a positive direction in order to receive love, adoration, support, or other positive emotional experiences, they will deprive themselves of sleep or oversleep. So the oversleeping is more of a lethargy caused by panic of the idea of being out and about, depression caused by, look at how much of my life I've already wasted, one more day, one more hour, one more week won't matter. And then the other side of sleep deprivation is when a person pushes themselves beyond what their body can handle. Sometimes using amphetamines or other drugs, sometimes using caffeine, sometimes just forcing oneself to stay up for 24 or more hours in a row without a reason, or with the rationalization of a reason that may be okay on one occasion, every few weeks or every few months, but when it becomes a daily habit and a person's sleep cycle is unhealthy and they're doing that on purpose to themselves, I'm not worthy to be rested, I'm not worthy to relax, is what they're saying in their own mind. And so that behavior becomes the foundation of sleep deprivation. You'll know a person who's doing this, who always complains about being tired. You'll see changes in their body structure. You'll see bags under their eyes and other things. Over an extended period of time, this will worsen and not get better, right? We've all had the night where either we're hungover or we stayed up too late studying for an exam or working. That's normal, and it happens to all of us from time to time. But when you see a person becoming more lethargic, more tired, and never looking rested, it's time to start to wonder what they're doing to themselves. Another one that's common that people don't realize is over-exercising. Now, this is usually common for a self-harmer who has been bullied or body-shamed. People that are exceptionally fat or have a poor body image, including but not limited to body dysmorphic disorder. In other words, that is a disorder where they believe there's something wrong with their body, but other people don't see it because it only exists within the foundation of their own mind. This is a very common behavior for them. So what will happen is they'll start on what seems to be a healthy decision, and that is, I'm going to exercise every day. And it starts reasonable enough, usually, hey, I'm going to exercise for 20 minutes a day, and then it becomes 30 minutes a day, and then it becomes 30 minutes a day, and then I'll go for a walk. And then it becomes 45 minutes a day, and I'll go for 2 walks. And before you know it, this person is consuming themselves with what outwardly looks like uh, a healthy behavior choice, and that is lots of exercise, but there is no end to it. And it's gone beyond the medical and health benefits because the person isn't allowing their lactic acid and other parts of their body to rebound after exercising. So in the end, what you have is a person who's actually harming themselves through the action of exercise. Now, the various health organizations, of which please do your research before believing at face value any singular health organization about anything, because there's conflicts to every conventional wisdom. So it's worth it to do that research. But anyway, um, certainly, the idea is to do up to 1 hour of exercise per day. If you are an athlete or looking to gain into athletic competition, exercising more than this is possible, but you need to be under the auspices of a medical doctor and or a training team to make sure you're not pushing your body too far. And a lot of people, what they will do is they will treat themselves like athletes and push their body to the brink without thinking about the health consequences physically, mentally, or emotionally. So, another concept that is very common is food punishment. So, food punishment can be overeating to the extent of feeling full. It can also engage in eating disorder like bulimia and anorexia, starving oneself and or purging oneself. It can go into undereating, and again, remember these individuals have either been through most of the time, and there are exceptions to every rule, but most of the time these individuals have either been through some form of body shaming or negative body image issues, and or they've been food insufficient or food deprived for extended periods of time. And so what happens is if you have, for example, a child, and I happen to be one of these children, who was starved for extended periods of time, days at a time or something like that, what you'll have is either the overeater, the gorger, or the undereater, the self-starver, because the relationship with food is either I haven't earned it or I've earned the right to purge, not to purge, but to gorge and to overextend. And the relationship with food isn't for nourishment, it's for either punishment if a person doesn't feel worthy, or enrichment if a person feels it's the only way they can express their emotions. So that is something to watch for. If you see immediate and extreme dietary changes with a friend, family member, or loved one, it's worth looking into why those things might have actually existed in the first place, or what's causing them. So the next to last one is self-isolation. So self-isolation is a really difficult one to spot because I think we all have moments, especially with COVID and the race riots that are going on right now at this point in 2020, summer of 2020. There's a lot of reasons and things that would make a person feel, hey, it's okay to not be around people. Hey, it's okay to go dark on social media. It's okay to engage in these behaviors. But when a person immediately and suddenly self-isolates and it continues for several days into several weeks and sometimes several months, this is a form of self-punishment and self-harm. Because what happens is the isolation, which they're even finding in prisons now, that isolation chambers can cause changes in brain chemistry and changes in psychological awareness. But long-term isolation can actually contribute to coaxial and um, piggybacking of mental illnesses. So a person who self-isolates is more likely to develop things like anxiety, depression, panic disorder, among other mental disorders, because if all you have is your mind and your mind is telling you to hurt yourself and punish yourself, it's easy to blend over into other mental disorders as a result. The last one is what's known as self-triggering. So if I know that I am triggered, for example, and I'll use one of my own personal triggers just to be transparent with everybody. I still, to this day, because of the abuse I suffered as a younger person, have a problem with loud noises and slamming doors. So if I were to go and slam a door as quickly as hard as possible, and to do it, and then I open the door and I slam the door, and I open the door and I slam the door until I give myself a flashback or a negative experience, then I'm engaging in self-triggering. If you reread the same email from an ex, and you know that reading that email or listening to a song or having a conversation with a certain person or any other number of behaviors is going to trigger you and send you into a negative emotional spiral, this is a form of self-harm. It's actually a very common form, especially for people who are often approaching emotional numbness, and the only emotions they have a relationship with that's comfortable is negative emotion. So they will trigger themselves just to feel, just to have an emotional experience. And this is very dangerous, especially for people who don't realize that this is what they're doing, and a lot of times it isn't. They just want to feel, and they don't realize that positive feelings are possible. So that is, we'll close the audio there. If you are dealing with self-harm issues, please get help from an appropriate professional. Also, there are coaches that deal with self-harm and replacement behavioral modifications and all that stuff. So reach out to somebody if you think you need the help. But until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.